You're like a
How is everybody?
We are awesome.
Looking forward to these questions. It's nice being back in Oklahoma.
Yeah, you were just mentioning you worked in this area.
Yeah.
And by area, I mean the state.
Well, the state neighboring mine, I was from Pratt, Kansas, which is west of Wichita, about 70 miles. And my mom grew up just outside of Tallahassee, so every summer we'd come down, so we'd go through Oklahoma City, but I haven't really ever had a chance to stop and stay for a few days. And I'm looking forward to meeting everybody and coming by, and it's great. And I lived in Oklahoma for a while in Frederick, Oklahoma, as a DJ on one of the little radio stations where I got my second radio station I ever worked at. And it was a little country station out there, and we had, the news, weather, and tornado warnings. A lot of those. So but it was fun. So I've spent some time in Oklahoma.
Nice. And your radio work, that would probably be the days of and coming up next.
Yeah, we call that voice the puker.
Yeah, Billy West told
The
me.
puker. Sounds like this, okay. We got a great time tonight, okay.
The boss with the hot sauce. Make all the platters with less chatter.
It sounds like you're puking.
So the way too. It's interesting correlation, and now we don't see that anymore. I mean, DJs, as I knew it, and you worked in it. Okay, a very different type of occupation now. But I always find it interesting that a lot of comedians and a lot of voice actors came out of that environment. Some of them came out into it too. Did you? Early in that time, were you had your radio voice, you stuck to it, or did you do permutations for different types of delivery?
Oh, well, they didn't care. I did it in my hometown in Kansas, and I would create characters. I've always liked to impersonate and do voices and things like that. So on air, they didn't care what we did, as long as you play the commercials and, do the news at the right time, do whatever you want. And so I would invent characters or use characters that existed, like there used to be Wolfman Jack, if you remember the voice. Yeah, oh baby, we got a great time today. Hey Bill, it's great to be here today. Hey Wolfman, thank you for coming on the show. And I didn't know there were any things like copyright laws or anything like that, so he didn't get mad. And we just played with it, and it kind of really how I got my start.
Nice. I know were you always kind of elevate into acting and stuff? I mean, DJing was paying the rent, I assume. Were you always thinking, oh man, it's an audition here?
Well, in the middle of Kansas and everything, that was the only thing I thought I could get into that even resembled show business. I mean, I went to the University of Kansas and I took some theater and did a few plays and everything, but that was about it really. It didn't really happen until after I'd done the radio thing for a while, and I wound up in Dallas, and I got into stand-up comedy in 1982, a long time ago. And it was just a place called the Comedy Corner. They had an open mic night. You could go up and do 5 minutes on a Tuesday night. And I thought, well, I'm gonna kick myself if I don't try this, because I've always liked watching comedians on televisions. And I found out it's much harder than I thought. And long story short, I kind of clicked a little bit. And not that much, because you don't know what you're doing in the beginning. So the first 3 months was horrible. And then I started doing little places around Texas and Louisiana and
if it only took you 3 months to get your comedy legs, that's actually a meteoric rise.
Well, yeah. And then actually, if you remember the comic Sam Kinison, he got kicked out of Amarillo, Texas. And they needed...
He got kicked out of a lot of places.
Yes, because it was a little too intense for that audience. So they bumped the middle act up to headliner, and they brought me in as a middle act. Oh, wow. So the first time I went out on the road, I wasn't an opener, I was a middle act. And that kind of got it going a little bit more. Long story short, about 4 years later, in 1986, an agent I had in Dallas said, well, you do all these voices, why don't you go out to Hollywood and see what you can do? And so we did, my wife and I, she stayed in Dallas actually while I went out to Hollywood because I was still traveling the country doing comedy. And as luck would have it, about 5 months after I got there, my agent said, "Do you do any of the Disney characters?" And I thought, well, I can kind of do a Mickey if you can do that falsetto. Gosh, oh boy, you're kind of in the ballpark with that. But gosh, Goofy was my favorite. And so I tried out. They gave me a cassette of the original voice. I laid it down. And
For those of you who do not know what a cassette is,
Yeah,
speak to me
fake
later.
thing.
We'll go into it later.
And yeah, it was a cassette. I still have it. And so I didn't know how many people tried out. I found out later it was about 1,100, which I wouldn't have tried had I known that. And they hired me for one show. They don't sign you to a long-term contract, no. Today, as it was back then, it's still every cartoon, every show I do is a new contract. I'm like a plumber, you know. It's like I get paid, I come in and do a job, I go home. That's the way it is. And now it's been almost 40 years. Will be 40 years in January. And I think I've got the job, so.
And we're glad you do.